In the wake of the Florida Parkland shooting, video games have been getting quite a lot of press. First, there was the governor of Kentucky who didn't point the blame on guns, but instead pointed the blame at music and violence in video games. Then last week on Good Morning America, they urged parents to pay close attention to the amount of screen time they were getting playing violent video games such as Fortnite.
Trump has announced he's meeting with video game executives next week to discuss violent content following the deadly Florida school shooting.
So at first, admittedly, I shrugged all of this off because this conversation has been going on since the 90s, and I finally optimistically thought that it was no longer being pointed to as the main reason as to why violent things happen. And then I saw this.
Kids getting rid of video games to send a message against violence, as one South Florida school says. Challenge accepted. Parents are also taking a pledge.
Yeah, they say it's all about change after the school tragedy at Stoneman Douglas.
The Cushman School, a private school in Miami, Florida, held the Violent Video Game Toss campaign, where students destroyed their violent video games in the stance against violence.
The Cushman School students are taking a pledge.
I have a pledge that says I will not play violent video games.
And voluntarily disposing of violent video games.
Violent video games are bad!
We wanted to make a change after the shooting, so we decided to get a bunch of people together and a group of people together to throw away all the games.
So every time I see a piece like this, whether it's a story of college kids burning books because they had sensitive material, or now kids destroying their video games in a stance against violence, all I can think about is Fahrenheit 451. And in Bradbury's book, if I remember correctly, it was kind of a totalitarian government sort of thing where they were essentially destroying books to censor knowledge, to censor the consumption of knowledge. After a few years of just seeing stories, especially ones like this, I really do believe that it's not going to be our government that creates this, but it's going to be us that create Fahrenheit 451. It's going to be young, forward-thinking people who are going to start this trend of censoring themselves and everyone around them from things that they don't have the ability to entertain and understand.
Parents and teachers are also on board, signing the pledge and supporting the children.
I was born in 1990 and I was raised on Doom and Mortal Kombat. Both of those games played a huge role in creating the ESRB rating system. I then grew older playing games like Grand Theft Auto 3 and Max Payne. And not to mention, my favorite movie of all time from my childhood is Terminator 2. I've never been in a fight, nor have I ever even initiated one, let alone have I ever shot and killed someone. To add on to that, I'm so damn apathetic that I can barely read the news without getting choked up and having a teary-eyed fit of some kind. And that goes for anything from the story of like a lost dog finding its way home and then like them showing the owners with their dog, to anything that involves violence or a school shooting. I'm a mess. It's just, I am. Now, I know I'm only one person, but if you were to combine the overall sales from games like Grand Theft Auto and Call of Duty, it results in hundreds of millions of copies sold, meaning that there are millions upon millions of people playing these games every single day, year in, year out. Yet all of gaming culture is bound at the hands of a few individuals who have committed some of the most disgusting crimes ever fucking documented.
These titles no longer have a place in the video game libraries of these middle...
W2W wrestling? Wrestling's fake. That's not even real violence. Has somebody told this kid, this parent, or whoever this is?
We wanted to make a change after the shooting.
And the fact that they're talking about that we wanted to make a change after the shooting, almost like they're convinced, these kids are convinced that this shooting that happened in Parkland was due to video games. Though as far as I can tell, as based off everything I've read, almost nothing came back to the individual who committed that crime playing video games. If anything, the only shit that came up was that he was possibly a white supremacist.
All they receive from the outside, even from games, is violence.
Also, was Hitler a big gamer? Or how about that school shooting that happened in Liberty, Mississippi back in 1891, where a gunman opened fire from a double-barrel shotgun into a crowd of students? If you can find his Xbox gamer tag, let me know.
I just don't see any real benefit to these kind of video games in our society. I mean, I know that they're kind of fun to play, but they don't really serve any purpose other than that, and it seems like they do have potentially pretty detrimental effects.
So this dude right here, he's only speaking hypothetically, like he even admits like games are fun.
I mean, I know that they're kind of fun to play.
I'm pretty sure people were saying the exact same thing when the printing press was made and people spent all their days reading books. Everyone was saying stop reading a book, get outside. Now it's stop playing video games and get outside. And see, that's really what it comes down to. People are turning to the quickest thing to blame because they aren't capable of looking themselves in the mirror and maybe accepting and acknowledging that this problem, these acts of violence, go far beyond any tangible object, go far beyond the idea of a gun or a video game, and is in fact rooted so deeply into our culture that we don't even know how to fucking address it. Now, to be clear, I'm not declaring my stance on gun control here or what I think is causing the problem. I'm asking people to look at the bigger picture, and by doing something like this, I think we're moving backwards.
The seeds of positivity are already taking root inside the minds of these impressed.
And then, come on, that kid is throwing out Wolfenstein 2. Like that game's about fucking killing the type of person who committed this fucking shooting. The same fucking shit happened in the 80s with metal music. This happened in the 90s when Columbine happened, and everyone blamed Marilyn Manson for it.
If you were to talk directly to the kids at Columbine or the people in that community, what would you say to them if they were here right now?
I wouldn't say a single word to them. I would listen to what they have to say, and that's what no one did.
So honestly, I don't think the gaming industry is going to change or be affected by this. My concern is that of censorship. Censorship to those who are young and have not had the chance to articulate their own opinions and stance on things, and that people of influence, specifically teachers, are censoring materials that they themselves don't understand, that they haven't even fucking tried, that they haven't even played. That's my problem. Essentially, I'm screaming into an echo chamber because I know my audience, I know my channel, I'm preaching to the choir. I'm just asking and hoping that if someone sees this, that maybe they can just reflect for a second and look beyond this stupid petty shit and stop fucking trying to censor people and stop fucking destroying games and movies and books. Like everyone has their hot take on this. I know. And I'm not saying I know the answer because I don't. I just don't think this is it. Like if anything, go give somebody a hug. Please. Why is it that all of these shooters are predominantly young men? Like, please, let them know that it's okay. Give them a hug. Tell them it's okay to fucking cry. Jesus fuck. I love you guys. If I could hug every single one of you right now and tell you, you're gonna make it, it's gonna be all right, give someone a high five, I would. So, imagine that I'm doing that. See you guys next week. Have a good one. Keep doing what you're doing. You're great. Okay, bye.